NFL playoffs.
We want to make sure you have those best bets in the entirety of our betting cards. That was protected! But he had that program was already going there!
Only on SportsGrid.
We live in a society right now where everybody's a snowflake, everybody's a cupcake, and everybody thinks that nothing is fair. Everything is like, it's not fair. We should have a better chance. We need more. You know what? I'm old enough to remember when you needed to have a perfect goddamn record to win a college football championship. That's the way it was. 11-1, too bad.
Sports Rage tonight, only on SportsGrid.
The two guys that can do it all. Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching!
Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What?
How do you do this once?
Oh, Donnie, you've got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
When you look at Marcus Johnson, when you look at Nikola Jokic, these aren't guys that are big, super athletic, dunking and jumping over people. These are just guys that are clean, skilled footwork, and do things below the rim that make the everyday guy look like it'd be like, I can do that. But you can't, and neither can I.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
Welcome to hour number 2 live right here on this Monday morning, the opening day of a new week on the Early Line on SportsGrid. He is Donnie. I am Ben. We continue to recap the Week 12 Sunday slate around the National Football League. One more game to end out Week 12. It's a battle of the brothers. The Har Bowl tonight in Los Angeles, our second consecutive evening with a primetime marquee matchup in Los Angeles between Jim Harbaugh and his hometown Chargers against John Harbaugh in the Baltimore Ravens. A preview and breakdown of Monday night later on in this second hour. DRS still got to recap the Sunday slate, though. All of our reactions to what we saw on that Sunday slate here in the National Football League.
Oh, we saw a lot, even though some of the games did turn out to be entertaining. Entering into this week, once we got by that Thursday night football game, it was like, boy, I hope we just can fast forward to the night game. Me as an Eagles fan, I thought it was a masterpiece, but for the rest of the public, probably like, I can go to bed early at this point once Saquon blasted that 70-plus yarder to start that third quarter. But with one thing we knew is the primetime football games were supposed to have electricity. You had that last night, and you're going to have that again tonight. So at least we should be able to end with a bang before we hit Thanksgiving break. This is a fantastic football game tonight with a lot of angles that we're going to try to hit a little bit later in the show.
Yeah, DRS, to your point, 6 teams on the bye in Week 12, the most we have seen with an open week all year long in the NFL. So only 11 games on Sunday, and only 3 of the 11 featured a spread with less than 5.5 points. But we did see some chaos. We'll talk about that in just a moment. Not in Indianapolis, which was one of the spots, DRS. I think a lot of people were looking at the Colts maybe keeping a game within margin as a great underdog cover team all year against the Detroit Lions with a potentially inflated number. No, sir. The Lions pick up their 10th victory in 11 games this season and their 9th cover in 10 wins. Detroit is now 10-1 straight up and 9-2 against the spread as they go into Indy and win big, 24-6, covering as that 7.5-point road favorite. We were expecting some offense. Hey, it's Detroit who scored 52 the week prior, and Anthony Richardson who led Indianapolis to 28 on the road against the Jets. Nope, stayed well under 49 and a hook.
What a turnaround, too. And this is the perfect storm for the Detroit Lions, who their MO is always, we got an offense that's going to score, we're going to play high-scoring games, and then flip it over on Pro Football Focus once again. 1-2 in the NFL, the Philadelphia Eagles and the Detroit Lions. That's an impressive turnaround for both of those football teams. And also, you take a look at it yesterday. You saw the previous week before, Anthony Richardson was really good against the Jets. Measured, making the right reads, using his feet when appropriate. And yesterday, goes right back into the doldrums. 11 of 28, no touchdowns, no interceptions, a passer rating of 60, a QBR rating of 48.3. The only thing that really did save him is he did rush 10 times for 61 yards. But this is more of a credit to Detroit's defense. They are absolutely outstanding. Yesterday, I saw David Montgomery banged up. Thank goodness he got the touchdown before he left. But, oh, yeah, we have another guy, Jamar Gibbs, who can tote it, 21 carries for 90 yards. No touchdown passes out of Jared Goff, but still a passer rating of 93.4. This is one of those games where we talk about, same thing I said like Minnesota, kind of interesting. They won the football game the way they did, but I like to see it. This is one I like for the Lions. You didn't have to score 57 points, but boy, that defense has been nothing short of spectacular here, and it looks like it's going to continue to roll. And quite frankly, they match up really well on Thursday against the Chicago Bears, too. This is a great run for that Aaron Glenn defense here for the Lions.
Of course, the historic start to a Turkey Day triple header. The Lions are a double-digit 10.5-point favorite on Thursday morning and afternoon, I guess you can say, against the Chicago Bears. To your point, DRS, 17 incompletions for Anthony Richardson yesterday. At least he didn't put the ball in harm's way. It's not a recipe for success for him to take his lumps against NFL defenses as he is trying to learn if they are playing from such a hefty deficit. The Lions blanked the Colts in the second half. Jared Goff did not throw a touchdown pass. Jahmyr Gibbs ran in two, and David Montgomery a score as well. Detroit is 10-1, and despite only having a full game advantage over Minnesota in the head-to-head tiebreaker as well at this moment, the Lions are minus 600 to win this division. Frankly, any number you place on Detroit at this moment does feel fitting. The Lions and the Chiefs are both 10-1. I don't think there's much of a question right here, right now, DRS, who that best team in the National Football League truly is. Detroit now a 3-1 favorite to win a Lombardi Trophy for the first time in franchise history. Now $2 full in front of the reigning two-time champs in Kansas City.
That's the way it should be. It really should. You're looking at, sometimes these two teams don't match up per se until they maybe meet in the Super Bowl, but you can't pass the eye test on one side with the trim. Like, yeah, look at that record. And then the other side say, the Kansas City Chiefs. It's two completely different seasons right now where one team is running every single week teams up the flagpole. That's the Lions. Then you take a look at the, Kansas City Chiefs with that great record still, but sort of slipping by in some of these games, not as explosive. And I continue to say, and I identified Detroit a long time ago as my favorite team in the NFC. I still think the Eagles will have something to say about that, but if you are the Lions, mission accomplished here if you get that number one overall seed. You don't want to go outdoors in Philadelphia and let the Eagles get the bye late in the season. You want that at home in the Dome, and I continue to stress this a lot. The Super Bowl is in a Dome this year. That is advantage Detroit Lions. You just have to stay healthy like everybody else, but my goodness, there is a stark contrast between two 10-1 teams between the Chiefs and the Lions.
Yeah, there are a couple of questions, DRS, about teams with a winning record. And the old adage is you are what your record says you are, but you can kind of examine a little bit deeper. Maybe the Chiefs, but they have the pedigree. The Texans, an intriguing team. 7-5 now, DRS, but one of those hefty favorites on the slate yesterday, laying more than a touchdown against a divisional foe in the Titans, who had just 2 wins in only a single cover entering week number 12. The Titans win outright 32-27 in H-Town as a 7.5-point dog and a total of 40 and a hook. Skies over. Just the third win this year for Tennessee. Again, just the second cover. The Titans are 2-6 both straight up and against the spread as an underdog. In DRS, the Texans looked like, okay, this game was way closer than we expected, but they took a 27-23 lead with less than 10 minutes remaining in regulation, only for the very next play from scrimmage, the Titans, a 70-yard touchdown strike to put them in front for good. The Titans win outright as a 7.5-point dog.
QBR rating on the season for C.J. Stroud, 51.3, which is 25th in the NFL. 14 touchdown passes and 9 interceptions. That can't happen. And even on the desk yesterday saying, you know how this game's probably going to go? It might be a little bit close, but Will Levis is going to give, and he did yesterday. Will Levis threw a pick 6. That game should have been dead and buried in the second half. Where is that Houston defense rising up against a Titans opponent that's basically dead and buried on the season? Good for the Titans in fighting, and Tony Pollard looked good. 24 carries, 119 yards yesterday, and a touchdown. touchdown, chipped in with a couple catches as well. That is unconscionable that you lost that game at home to the Titans here. And one of those projections on C.J. Stroud from his rookie year, he was so good and in the MVP race. You only thought that ascension would get even higher this year. It just hasn't been there. And they're lucky they play in the division that they do. Unacceptable football for the Texans. I still think they win this division, but I was hoping they would catch lightning in a bottle this year and say, you know what? Playoff win last year. Let's amp it up this year. I'm not so sure about that. They just don't look right now on offense.
Still the only team with a winning record in the AFC South, and thus a minus 950 favorite to win the division. And they did sweep the Colts in the regular season set. So again, another hefty tiebreaker against Indianapolis. But it's just not great right now for Houston. 3-5-1 DRS against the spread, booked as the favorite this year. As a home favorite with C.J. Stroud in his career, 3-6-1 against the number. More interceptions already this year, 9 than he had in the entirety of his rookie campaign, only 5. The completion percentage is worse. The quarterback rating is worse. Yeah. These are not good things in what might be a sophomore slump for Houston. But what a game for Tennessee. Chigaquanu, that 70-yard touchdown reception that put Tennessee ahead. And nobody could catch the guy sprinting down the field. More from the NFL Sunday slate. And then what I'm sure will be a very passive college football discussion after that. Next. Two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results.
What? How do you do this once?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
The sharpest football contest show in the land, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show, focuses on Circus Sports Million, Circus Survivor, and the Westgate Super Contest, handicapping the games and releasing our contest picks every week of the season. With 2 former Super Contest winners, Brady Cannon and James Salinas, a former NFL player, Mike Pritchard, and over $1 million in contest prize money won combined, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show will have you prepared this season like none other.
We live in a society right now where everybody's a snowflake, everybody's a cupcake, and everybody thinks that nothing is fair. Everything is like, it's not fair. We should have a better chance. We need more. You know what? I'm old enough to remember when you needed to have a perfect goddamn record to win a college football championship. That's the way it was. 11-1, too bad.
Sports Rage tonight, only on SportsGrid.
When you look at Marcus Johnson, when you look at Nikola Jokic, these aren't guys that are big, super athletic, dunking and jumping over people. These are just guys that are clean, skilled footwork, and do things below the rim that make the everyday guy look like and be like, I can do that. But you can't, and neither can I.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
The Miami Dolphins, DRS, may be figuring something out. The Dolphins have now won 3 consecutive games. Yesterday, doing what the odds makers expected, blowing out a divisional foe at home in South Florida, 34-15. Miami covers as a 7.5-point favorite. A total of 44.5 goes way over. And Tua Tagovailoa, 317 yards, 4 touchdown tosses in all 5 games since he returned from injured reserve. The Dolphins have scored at least 23, averaging 29 points per game in this 5-game streak. And DRS, they had not scored more than 20 in the opening 6 games of the year. Miami figuring something out. 3 consecutive wins, 4 straight covers for the Fins.
Figuring out that they have a pretty good quarterback, and when he's healthy and upright, he can deliver. You talk about a game yesterday, which I thought Devon Achane would have a very good game on the ground. Didn't happen. They had 24 carries as a team for 65 yards, which equates to 2.7 yards per carry on the ground. But here we go finally, asking for weeks. Where is Jalen Waddle? Where is that explosive wide receiver you took out of Alabama to pair up with Tyreek Hill? He showed up in spades yesterday. 8 catches, 144, and a touchdown. And by the way, maybe the best kept secret at tight end in the NFL, could it be Jonnu Smith, who again yesterday, 11 targets, 9 catches, 87 yards, and a touchdown. By the way, Devon Achane wasn't great on the ground. He wasn't typically great pass catching either, only with 24 yards, but 2 of those catches did go for touchdowns here. This is a good sign for the Miami Dolphins. We know the talent is there. They're just injured, weren't able to put it together, but now starting to roll and get some momentum here where they can start to eye up one of those, action shots here in the wild card race. Flip it over real quick to the other side. I actually thought the Patriots at 7.5 were a decent side yesterday that could hang around. After the first quarter, I was like, yeah, you know what? Dolphins offense just not there. Patriots muck it up. 24-0 at the break. It was a wrap at that point yesterday. Drake May, look, 22 of 37, 222. I like the fact that they're letting him throw the football, but please get him some weapons so you don't absolutely smash his career like you did Mac Jones.
Yeah, and that is important, DRS. We knew it would be a year of rebuilding. Yeah. And building for New England. They have been competitive at times, not so much yesterday. Again, the Dolphins, because of the offensive output, now over in 4 of the 5 since Tua's return. Tyreek Hill did not hit pay dirt despite 4 touchdown tosses from Tua Tagovailoa. And when the Denver Broncos, DRS, are booked as a favorite, it's for good reason. The Broncos win by double digits, 10 points, in fact, in Las Vegas yesterday, 29-19 as a 6.5-point road favorite, over 41.5 as well. The Broncos now a favorite 5 times this season and a perfect 5-0 against the spread, not just as they favorite DRS, but Denver, one of the best cover teams in the National Football League this year, 9-3 ATS, 7-5 straight up. The Raiders are a different story. But the Broncos look primed with a rookie quarterback in Bo Nix who continues to deliver and improve week over week to be a playoff team in the AFC this season.
Yeah, maybe they can be arriving maybe a year or 2 ahead of schedule, which is great. The one thing you like about Sean Payton is early on he identified Bo Nix and said, you know what, we're not going to baby you. You're going to throw that football 35 to 40 times as a rookie. You're going to make your mistakes. You're going to learn how to be more efficient. And you knew the way to attack the Las Vegas Raiders was not running the football. It was through the air. You let him throw 42 times yesterday, 273, 2 touchdowns, a passer rating of 94.6, exactly what you needed. One of my favorite wide receivers, Ben, coming into the day yesterday was Cortland Sutton, finishing with 8 catches, 97 yards, and 2 touchdowns. How about Devon Vele, 6 for 80 there? We expect great things now out of Bo Nix, and also one of those environments where you're supposed to win. I understand the Raiders are 2-8, but it's still a road game in your division, and your rookie quarterback, he handled himself well in that game. And also, shout out if you had the Denver Broncos yesterday with a 1st and goal for the Vegas Raiders at the 1-yard line, an incomplete pass followed by a sack, and the Raiders were like, hey, you know what? 9 seconds on the clock. Let's not hurry back to the line and get a snap off. We'll walk off. That's a big win for Broncos backers yesterday.
The Raiders, DRS, I think there might be another coaching change on the horizon. If it was all about buy-in and belief with Antonio Pierce, that ain't happening right now. Las Vegas has lost 7 consecutive games. They have covered just twice in this 7-game skid. And oh, by the way, my alt line of the weekend, DRS, for that pick 6 was over 44.5 between the Raiders and the Broncos, because the Raiders can't slow down anybody. They have gone over in 6 of these 7 consecutive L's. Meanwhile, another great bet that I made, not to toot my own horn, of course, many losses. Bo Nix over a season-long passing yards prop, 28.50 and a hook. Through these first 12 games, he's got 2,548 passing yards. He threw multiple interceptions in each of the first 2 games of his NFL career. He's only thrown 2 in the 10 games since, and he's thrown multiple touchdown passes in 6 of the last 8. We all thought entering the year, 2 quarterback race for that Offensive Rookie of the Year award. Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels, 1st and 2nd overall picks. Well, Caleb's been okay. At least he's trying to figure things out in a dismal situation. Jaden Daniels, after a historic start, has tampered off just a little bit. Bo Nix, right there. Jaden Daniels, minus 150 to win the hardware. Bo Nix, second best price, plus 125.
Extracurricular is what we talk about. If you say at the end of the season, oh, the Denver Broncos made the playoffs, but the Chicago Bears didn't, and neither did the Washington Commanders after what we're going to probably call a collapse at that point, absolutely Bo Nix should be getting those stripes here. And also, he's the reason why they're winning. Forget about the defense or anybody else around them. You don't win with a quarterback throw, it's like, hey, game manager, 16 passes, 19 passes, 21 passes. Bo Nix routinely throws 30-plus passes in every single football game. They're not winning in spite of him. They're winning because of him, Ben.
Yeah, absolutely so, DRS. Yeah. And to your point, Sean Payton trusted in this rookie quarterback to get the job done, in a Denver defense on the other side that might be as stout as you will see around the National Football League. College football on the horizon, but here's the AFC playoff picture entering the Week 12 finale that will feature two teams in wild card spots at this moment. In the Harbaugh, it's the Chargers and the Ravens, both wild card teams. Denver, a pretty good advantage in that third and final spot in the playoff picture, but the Dolphins are charging the divisional races at this moment. The Chiefs, the Bills, the Steelers, who are not the AFC North favorites, and the Texans, who are just taking advantage of a bad AFC South. Now, what I'm sure will be a very passive college football conversation next. Two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What?
How do you do this one?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
The sharpest football contest show in the land, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show, focuses on Circus Sports Million, Circus Survivor, and the Westgate Super Contest, handicapping the games and releasing our contest picks every week of the season. With two former Super Contest winners, Brady Cannon and James Salinas, a former NFL player, Mike Pritchard, and over $1 million in contest prize money won combined, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show will have you prepared this season like none other.
We live in a society right now where everybody's a snowflake, everybody's a cupcake, and everybody thinks that nothing is fair. Everything is like, it's not fair. We should have a better chance. We need more. You know what? I'm old enough to remember when you needed to have a perfect goddamn record to win a college football championship. That's the way it was. 11-1, too bad.
Sports Rage tonight, only on SportsGrid.
When you look at Marcus Johnson, when you look at Nikola Jokic, these aren't guys that are big, super athletic, dunking and jumping over people. These are just guys that are clean, skilled footwork, and do things below the rim that make the everyday guy look like it'd be like, I can do that. But you can't, and neither can I.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
What a season it has been in college football. In the expanded and ever-changing landscape of this sport, we are seeing historic and generational results around the country. Upset after upset after upset on Saturday. That started in a game of the year between two top five teams, where number 5 and unblemished Indiana stepped into its first step-up spot of the season and got humbled by number 2 Ohio State, the national title favorites, who looked the very part of being that national championship front-running contender. The Buckeyes win big, 38-15 against the Hoosiers on Saturday in the Shoe in Columbus. Ohio State covers as a 10.5-point favorite because of a very late touchdown that Travion Henderson did not want to score, but Ryan Day and Will Howard and the rest of the Bucs definitely did to make a statement. Total of 52.5 does sky over. I feel for any underbackers in a game that was a dead under for most of it. Ohio State victorious, handing Indiana its first loss of the year. Now, let's get ready for battle.
What's the battle, though? Like, there wasn't, like, I never had any qualms heading into this week that the Indiana Hoosiers were going to get beat in that game, but I also thought the game would stay under the total, which is a crime, and Travion Henderson was about to be a hero, and then Will Howard stole it away. But here's the issue that we have, and I can't get myself too worked up because this is going to be the product of some of the why we have a 12-team playoff. Sometimes you were thinking back on the old notions of the BCS, top 2 teams, right? Can't let that third or fourth team or fifth team in. Then you got to the top 4 teams. Oh, no, can't let that fifth or sixth team in. You have to understand, good football teams are still going to make their way in. And also the product of our environment now is these leagues are so big now that you are going to get lucky on your scheduling. The Indiana Hoosiers were an SEC football team. They're probably 500 at this point in the season, but they're not. That's not who they play, and that's not the way it's going to be graded out. Like if the SEC right now said, you know what, guys? Nobody in the SEC is allowed to play anybody in the SEC. We'd probably have 11 SEC football teams wind up in the college football playoff because they would go around barnstorm and beat the hell out of every football team in the country. But again, that's not where we're at this point. The one thing I did appreciate out of Cignetti, the mission at hand, coming into that football game, probably understanding they weren't going to win, but they just could not get embarrassed, which was funny the way that final touchdown ends up because you saw that final drive by Indiana. Their goal was not to get back into the football game. It was like, look, they're going to play in a prevent defense. Let's run the football. If we get a touchdown, it's going to look so much better. And it didn't because they erased it with an Ohio State touchdown. But once again, Indiana is going to make it into the college football playoff, not because they're a good team. It's because of who they played this year. But I'm accepting of that and okay with the playoff structure being 12 teams. You're going to have some teams slip in there. I think they're an okay team. Granted, truth be told, I didn't watch a lot of Indiana football. But just watching that game, I know how good Ohio State is. But Curtis Rourke stinks. They have 2 really good running backs that I do like, but the rest of that team is very average. You're a product of your environment, but they're using that to their advantage. And also, one quick shot here. I'll say this again, Ben. If anybody out there is looking for an agent, boy, oh boy, you get that agent for that head coach of the Indiana Hoosiers, man. Gets that big-time deal before he actually won a damn thing at Indiana. That guy's the big Cignetti. He's the winner. And they got wiped out with no chance to do anything in the playoffs, but that guy got that contract. That guy won at life, no doubt.
I love when you just readily admit your ignorance before you make an outlandish point.
What, they didn't beat anybody?
I have not watched Indiana football at all.
Look at stats.
So Kurt Cignetti did something that nobody else has ever done in Hoosiers football program history, and thus is fraudulent.
Who cares? If they played a decent schedule, they'd be 500. There's no question.
Who has more wins? Who has more wins at this moment against Power 4 bowl-eligible teams? Is it Indiana or the SEC favorites, Texas?
Yeah, but that's not the point.
Indiana.
Is how bad.
So here's the point. I'm not going to argue. No. My time. I gave you your time. I didn't interrupt you. I gave you your time despite saying ignorant and ignorant things over and over.
Please answer the schedule strength. What is their schedule strength here? One of the worst in the country by a wide margin.
For sure
they're an okay football team.
But
they're a
resume is more than strength of schedule. Resume is more than strength of schedule.
They have no resume.
Also, quality wins matter.
Zero resume.
Texas has less of them than Indiana.
Zero quality
I am not going to argue. I am not arguing that Indiana lost against
Zero.
They have 3 wins against Power 4 bowl-eligible teams. Texas has 2, and one of them in the almighty SEC
is 79 bowl-eligible teams in the NCAA. They have no quality wins. They're a bad football team. Again, they play in the SEC.
You are admitting that you do not understand how college football and resumes work.
I do understand. Play good teams, get beat.
Television.
They do.
I don't even need to argue you.
Purdue.
Take it to break.
Purdue next week.
you guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What?
How do you do this one?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
The sharpest football contest show in the land, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show, focuses on Circa Sports Million, Circa Survivor, and the Westgate Super Contest, handicapping the games and releasing our contest picks every week of the season. With two former Super Contest winners, Brady Cannon and James Salinas, a former NFL player, Mike Pritchard, and over $1 million in contest prize money won combined, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show will have you prepared this season like none other.
We live in a society right now where everybody's a snowflake, everybody's a cupcake, and everybody thinks that nothing is fair. Everything is like, it's not fair. We should have a better chance. We need more. You know what? I'm old enough to remember when you needed to have a perfect goddamn record to win a college football championship. That's the way it was. 11-1, too bad.
Sports Rage tonight, only on SportsGrid.
When you look at Marcus Johnson, when you look at Nikola Jokic, these aren't guys that are big, super athletic, dunking and jumping over people. These are just guys that are clean, skilled footwork, and do things below the rim to make the everyday guy look like it'd be like, I can do that. But you can't, and neither can I.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
I'm not even. Listen, Donnie. That conversation, that debate, did not stop in the commercial break, and I have a lot of respect for Donnie Right-Side's takes on the NBA and the NFL. But when it comes to outrightly admitting that you don't watch college football and making the same outlandish arguments that everybody makes,
there's no outlandish argument. There's nothing outlandish about. They're a quality football team that would not be very good in bigger conferences.
I'm not interrupting you.
I'm not going to let you. You're not going to get to these nonsense.
You go
yes,
first.
respond after this. Indiana is a decent football team that played the worst conference schedule I've ever seen. It was no surprise and no joke that once they played a team that was very good, they got absolutely embarrassed. They're still going to make the college football playoff. They'll get in and they'll get blasted in round number 1. They're a product of their environment. Put them up against Penn State this year. Put them up against Ohio State. Other good for Oregon. They don't even make the playoffs. There's no shame in that. This is a great season for Indiana. They played absolutely nobody, and they're going to play a 1-win football team that's saying, hey, they beat Purdue. It's okay to understand exactly what happened here. They caught absolute fire by the worst schedule we've ever seen maybe in the history of college football, and they're going to make the college football playoff before it. It's okay to admit that. It is.
It absolutely is. The odds makers are telling that at minus 3,000.
Yes.
I have never
They're going to make the playoffs.
Nor is anybody that actually has a pulse denying that Indiana has played an easy schedule. And they have taken advantage of easy schedule. Not just escaping with victory after victory, absolutely hammering teams. Then they went into the home of the national championship favorites, catching 10.5 points and got humbled. Nobody is arguing that. What the argument now becomes, DRS, is the outlandish and flawed statement that you and many others who don't actually watch college football week over week are claiming about the SEC. You use hypothetical, which is not how game results matter, and you use thinking that Nick Saban is still the head coach in Tuscaloosa in 2015, the argument that the SEC is just better than everybody. It's not.
It is.
It's a mediocre conference where the best teams in the conference continuously get humbled. Donnie, who lost by 21 on the road as a 13.5-point favorite on Saturday? Was it Indiana or was it Alabama?
But because they're playing better competition. It's the same thing in the NFL. The NFC South to the NFC North.
Answer the reality of the question.
Answer this reality question. Alabama would absolutely fillet Indiana. They would smash them.
Once do you listen to yourself speak? That's not a reality question. They have not played each other. You are using hypothetical. Vanderbilt was a 25.5-point dog against Alabama. What realistically
Let me
happened?
understand this.
Did Alabama win by 4 touchdowns?
Let me understand this. If Indiana was in the SEC, would their record at this point be 10-1? That's all I'm saying. It would be nowhere near that. And that's all the argument is.
I don't know, because I delve in reality. I still believe that an Indiana team
got killed. They finally played a decent team, and they got embarrassed.
So many
if
teams
they would have won that football, yes, you're 100% correct.
No.
The only argument is Indiana is a decent football team and a product of their environment and will make the playoffs. We can agree on that.
Sure.
If Alabama played that same schedule, they would be probably the number 1 team in the country coming into that game yesterday. That's what I'm saying. That's all I'm saying.
And if my aunt had cojones, she'd be my uncle. And if
no,
pigs fly, the world would be a better place. You are delving, as everybody else is, in hypotheticals. Because, Donnie, we love the odds, right? We do everything from a sports betting component on the SportsGrid network and the early line. But the wonderful thing about sports is the odds don't always tell the tale. In fact, one of our favorite things in the world is David versus Goliath, in the underdog triumphing, as we have seen so many times this year. My argument for Indiana is not that, hey, they looked the part against Ohio State. Of course they did not. I am not, like you and every other buffoon is trying to do, going to diminish what the Hoosiers have done to their easy schedule, where the expected easy outcome has been outperformed by 14.6 points per game on cover margin when they have been booked as the favorite in those games. You are delving in hypothetical. Set the line if Alabama and Indiana play. The Crimson Tide are no doubt laying double digits. The Crimson Tide laid 13.5 to an even 500 Oklahoma team who lost to Missouri, who Alabama beat 34-zip. And what happened in the game? In reality, what happened in the game? Tell me. There it is. You don't even need to tell me. Alabama lost by 3 touchdowns.
Hear me out on this. If you have layup after layup, which means, Ben, you're not even playing your starters in the second half because how easy your schedule is. When you're in the SEC in Alabama, you are playing heavyweights every single week. There are no bye weeks here. Indiana basically has 10 bye weeks. Says everybody. Look how many ranked teams are in the SEC. Everybody. Look at this. What's the strength of schedule for Alabama compared to Indiana?
Did Alabama lose to a ranked team? Did Ole Miss on Saturday lose to a ranked team?
Yeah, but
did Texas A&M lose to a ranked team?
They didn't even play a ranked team the entire season, Indiana.
You're now arguing against Indiana again, using them as the punching bag. I am not using Indiana.
As a lot of teams in the country. So again, Indiana will make the college football playoff because they had an easy schedule.
If
the schedule wasn't easy, we wouldn't be talking about Indiana. That's the only point I'm making here.
Maybe not.
That's the only point I'm making.
Maybe not. But again,
they're a quality football team in the Big Ten. You remove them from the Big Ten.
Hypothetical arguments that do not stand in reality.
In college football. That's all you have in college football. You can only be. Did they play the easiest schedule possibly in the country? Yes. That's why they're in their position. If they played Oregon, Penn State, and Ohio State, we wouldn't even be having this. We wouldn't be having this argument at all because they'd lost all 3 of those games.
I know that Mr. Right Side, number 1 James Franklin hater, is not using Penn State as his argument.
That's how you know. That's how you know. I'm backing Penn State over Indiana. That's how you know how crazy this argument sounds.
Crazy in doing so.
Nowhere near
Penn State. That I would actually argue
Penn
State has a much better resume than the top-ranked team in the SEC, which is Texas. All to show you again that you're flawed and outdated hypothetical arguments or based on when Nick Saban and Les Miles were in the SEC, that his conference is just far superior to everybody. In the updated landscape that is NIL in the transfer portal that has diminished some of the heavyweights at this sport at the highest power, not from being a bad team, just to make it a little bit more egalitarian. Your argument does not stand the test of time, my friend, because if it did, Ole Miss is a 13.5-point road favorite in the Swamp against the Florida team, by the way, that has been so much better based on expectation than expected. Ole Miss would have won that game 24-17. Instead, they lost for the 3rd time, for the 2nd time as a 2-score favorite. against a team that at the time was 500 or worse. If your argument would stand the test of time, Colorado would have gone to Lawrence and would have held off a Kansas team that was 4-6, but they lost outright. See, that's the thing with reality, DRS. Despite the fact that Indiana was booked as a favorite against a team that was bad on the other side, what did Indiana do? Did they win that football game? Did they cover in that football game? Or did they lose outright?
I mean, if I was in high school and played junior high football games, yes, I would be hammering those teams as well. That's, again, the only argument is
call up that
Indiana
guy Keith.
is 10-1
the only William Patterson wide receiver I want to
That's
talk
all.
to.
That's all. That's all it is. That's the only argument here. If they played a decent schedule, we would never be talking about Indiana.
Indiana did what they needed to do. Indiana did what they needed to do.
Nobody's arguing
based
that.
on expectations.
Nobody's arguing that. Nobody argued that. My argument is they don't belong here because the fact is they didn't play a tough schedule. If they played the same schedule the Florida Gators played this year, what would their record be? No, they're making the playoffs.
Alabama beat Oklahoma on the road on Saturday and not even covered, we would not be having this argument. But 3 top 15 SEC teams went on the road against 3 teams that were 500 or worse and lost the games outright. What?
They're going to make the college football playoff, not because they're good, because they're a product of their environment. That's all. That's the only argument. They're in. They're in.
Indiana's a college football playoff team. Donnie's on the right side.
Yes.
Two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What?
How do you do this once?
Oh, Donnie, you've got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
The sharpest football contest show in the land, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show, focuses on Circa Sports Million, Circa Survivor, and the Westgate Super Contest, handicapping the games and releasing our contest picks every week of the season. With 2 former Super Contest winners, Brady Cannon and James Salinas, a former NFL player, Mike Pritchard, and over $1 million in contest prize money won combined, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show will have you prepared this season like none other.
We live in a society right now where everybody's a snowflake, everybody's a cupcake, and everybody thinks that nothing is fair. Everything is like, it's not fair. We should have a better chance. We need more. You know what? I'm old enough to remember when you needed to have a perfect goddamn record to win a college football championship. That's the way it was. 11-1, too bad.
Sports Rage tonight, only on SportsGrid.
When you look at Marcus Johnson, when you look at Nikola Jokic, these aren't guys that are big, super athletic, dunking and jumping over people. These are just guys that are clean, skilled footwork, and do things below the rim that make the everyday guy look like it'd be like, I can do that. But you can't, and neither can I.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
Man, I used to love Donnie Rightside, man. A champion of the 12-team college football playoff expanded format to only be like most of everybody that is just advocating for an SEC invitational because he stares at one metric and one metric only, and it's strength of schedule. Nobody could hold a candle to what the SEC does year in, year out, week in, week out, despite what records tell me. Donnie in the NFL says the old cliche, your record is what it says you are, or you are what your record says you are, and yet looks and says, well, you see, the strength of schedule is pretty difficult for every team in the SEC. So thus, nobody could do what the SEC can do. So, Donnie, not a champion of expansion as once thought,
Love
a champion of
24.
the SEC Invitational.
Give
me Mississippi State as your 12th team. That's good. No, I just wanted to make sure.
Mississippi State probably could beat Indiana. They might be able to beat Indiana. The way
Glad to know it.
Curtis Rourke,
Mississippi
where'd they get
State
that guy from? Go back to the MAC. My goodness.
Who?
Oof.
Curtis Rourke. Yeah.
Curtis Rourke.
That's tough. Listen, did not play well on Saturday. Has played well most of this season. But
why did he play well most of the season? Hold on. Why did he play well most of the season? Why did he play well most of the season, but not against Ohio State?
Because they were playing inferior opponents, and they took advantage of it. Nobody is arguing that. Nobody is arguing that.
There we go. Thank you.
Nobody is arguing that.
Send it to me. Clip that.
Nobody is arguing that.
You just
Indiana
argued that
against
the entire
inferior
show.
opponents. Indiana.
Yes.
No, I'm not.
Inferior schedule. They played all. You basically just said they played all inferior opponents. Which
Indiana
is my whole argument.
against inferior opponents, booked as a favorite, won a game and covered a game. Alabama against inferior opponent, Vanderbilt and Oklahoma lost a game outright. Ole Miss against inferior opponent at home in Oxford.
A half hour to get
Kentucky team that has just one win in the SEC, lost outright as a 15.5-point home
Tell me
favorite in the
Kentucky's strength of schedule. Tell me Kentucky's strength of schedule and tell me Indiana.
And how many wins do they have, Donnie? How many freaking wins do they have? If you're playing
hard, okay, so let's line this up then. If Indiana played Ohio State 11 games, what's the record then? What's the record if we're going to do that then? What's the record?
It's not reality, Donnie. That's not reality.
You're not talking reality. I am talking strength of schedule is reality. Isn't that not reality? Strength of schedule is 1,000% reality.
In its hardest game of the year.
The only hard game of the year. The only one.
For sure. But Donnie, here's the crazy thing about what you're saying, and you don't listen to yourself, and I don't doubt that about you. But Ole Miss was playing in easy games and lost outright to Kentucky at home. Ole Miss was playing in an easy game against Florida. Don't believe me. Believe in the odds makers.
They're only easy because of the way the SEC sets up. You send Indiana to Florida, they get beat down. Look at the strength of schedule.
Yeah.
These teams are battle tested.
What might happen?
Come on.
If. That's your freaking favorite word, man. If
Indiana played a tough schedule, they would not be.
All you are asking for once again is an SEC invitational, because nobody could go into these vaunted venues.
All I'm asking is give me the best 12 teams in the country. That's all I ask for.
Frieza, nobody could go into the swamp and win outright against the mighty SEC, right? Except Donnie's favorite team. Miami did that. By a lot. Miami.
Yeah.
There it is. But the SEC is the valued place in this country. Again, man.
Your argument is a top 10 football team went on the road and beat Florida. Is that what you're arguing right now?
Yeah,
like Miami's
because
like
they were expected to win a game, and they did. They did not lose a game. They won it. Because at the end of the day, Donnie Wrightside, a Super Bowl is not awarded to the team that was favored to win that Lombardi trophy. A football game is not stacked up as a win to the team that was favored to win it comfortably. What matters is, did you score more points than your opponent? Something that Indiana has done a lot this year. Something that many of your teams that you would like to highlight in the SEC have not. And I only use Indiana in this argument because that is your only argument. That in games expected to be an easy win, Indiana did exactly that. They won and won by a comfortable margin. In games expected to be an easy win for SEC teams this year, time and again, they have not been, and more than likely, they have been an outright loss.
There's no easy games in the SEC. None.
And I can't win an argument against the guy that would look at a sky being blue and say, I think it's orange. So why don't you set up Monday Night Football? Why don't you set up Monday Night Football? You're not. You're not using reality. You are simply not. Why don't we talk about Monday Night Football, huh? We got a great game tonight in Los Angeles to end out Week 12. It's the Harbaugh between Jim Harbaugh and the Los Angeles Chargers and John Harbaugh. Oh, you know what? Actually, we don't need to talk about the game. The Ravens are a 2.5-point favorite. Congrats, Baltimore, on your 8th win of the season. Well done.
You know what I like about this game? Two quality teams matching up in the NFL. because you don't get that in college football quite a bit. You saw that on Saturday when Ohio State ran roughshod over Indiana. You won't see that tonight probably because you got 2 good football teams going toe-to-toe, equally deserving to be on the field. For my idea of this football game tonight, though, with Jim Harbaugh, I don't think so, man. We'll go with John. I think his younger brother takes this game tonight.
Yeah, no doubt you do. You love the spread. 2.5 points. The Flock have already won. Baltimore was a favorite last week in Pittsburgh. I think they won that game. Baltimore was a touchdown favorite on the road against Jameis Winston in his first start. I think they won that game too.
Yeah.
Colorado was a 3-point favorite on the road.
Version.
In Arrowhead against the Jayhawks, I think they won that game.
What's Cleveland's strength?
I think they won that game.
I wonder if it's better than Indiana's. I think it's better than Indiana's.
Well, based on the NFL, yeah, I think it certainly is. It's good to know. Penn State was an 11.5-point favorite in the Twin Cities against the Golden Gophers. They won that game by 14. Oh, no, it's just a point. Oh.
Yeah.
All right. I just wanted to make sure I was reading results
better than
correctly.
20, losing by 20.
Reading results.
Signetti, man. I'm telling you, look, the credit for Indiana is they are like David Copperfield, winding up in the playoff. Awesome. Fantastic. There we go.
Yeah. Again, you're an Indiana guy and you don't even know it.
If they can lose to Purdue, man, this would be the single greatest show of all time.
For sure. No doubt about it. I'm not going to argue that. You lose to a team that hasn't beaten an FBS team all year, brother. You got a lot of questions to be answered.
Who did they beat?
Indiana State.
Who did Purdue beat?
Indiana State.
Oh, my goodness.
The Sycamores.
Whoa, State. They're going to win the state championship.
Maybe so. I don't even know if I'll be back after the break. Two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results.
What? How do you do this once?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
The sharpest football contest show in the land, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show, focuses on Circus Sports Million, Circus Survivor, and the Westgate Super Contest, handicapping the games and releasing our contest picks every week of the season. With 2 former Super Contest winners, Brady Cannon and James Salinas, a former NFL player, Mike Pritchard, and over $1 million in contest prize money won combined, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show will have you prepared this season like none other.
We live in a society right now where everybody's a snowflake, everybody's a cupcake, and everybody thinks that nothing is fair. Everything is like, it's not fair. We should have a better chance. We need more. You know what? I'm old enough to remember when you needed to have a perfect goddamn record to win a college football championship. That's the way it was. 11-1, too bad.
Sports Rage tonight, only on SportsGrid.
When you look at Marcus Johnson, when you look at Nikola Jokic, these aren't guys that are big, super athletic, dunking and jumping over people. These are just guys that are clean, skilled footwork, and do things below the rim that make the everyday guy look like it'd be like, I can do that. But you can't, and neither can I.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
Crazy comments in the feed. A lot of people. Reacting to Donnie and I having a good old time on this Monday morning. Again, let's get to Monday Night Football to end out week number 12 of this National Football League regular season. The Ravens have already won a football game based on the projected odds. They are a 2.5-point road favorite tonight in Los Angeles. The Cowboys lost yesterday to the Commanders, and that is certainly what happened. The Titans suffered yet another crushing defeat yesterday against the Texans. That certainly happened as well. The Harbaugh, though, DRS, what a time it's going to be tonight in Los Angeles.
It's going to be a good time tonight. It's a good football game. Here's the thing I'm worried about with the Chargers. I like the Chargers, but if we're not going to have a full-strength Chargers team, a couple pass rushers being down, and also Ladd McConkey, boy, that's really going to put the onus on Herbert to actually win this football game, or maybe just a ground and pound from J.K. Dobbins. The fact that I like the Baltimore Ravens coming in this game, the one thing you can attack them is in the secondary. So if you're a little bit limited in your passing game, I think that's going to affect it. And also, let's keep in mind, the Baltimore Ravens really need this victory, and they watched on Thursday night the loss for the Pittsburgh Steelers as a chance to seize that moment and sort of climb back into the race in the AFC North. I think that plays into it. Also, the total at 50.5. It feels right, even though the Chargers' MO is we don't really want to get into a shootout with you. I think they might have to against the Baltimore Ravens because that offense here with Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry, I think they're going to put up points in it. It's up to the Chargers to try to chase them down too. For me, as long as you're keeping it under 3, for me, I think the Ravens are the better side because I think they're just coming in a better spot tonight. Now, if Ladd McConkey's fully 100% and he's raring to go tonight, that could be a difference maker. But I just look pound for pound, player for player in the spot they're in tonight. The Ravens probably energized off that loss from the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think it gives them the slight edge tonight.
7-3, the straight-up record for the Los Angeles Chargers, who have covered in all 7 victories, and yet in all 7 games, DRS, they have been booked, or all 7 wins, rather, they have been booked as the favored side. The Chargers have only been a dog twice this year, which might be a little bit surprising. And in those games, as an underdog, they have not covered the number in either. Both of those games under a total as well. The Chargers have gone over in 2 consecutive games, but only over 3 times in their 10 NFL games this season. As we know, Baltimore has been a dead over team. 11 games this year for the Flock, over in 9 of 11. This is not the highest total of the season for Baltimore. They have played in multiple games 50 and above. This is by far the highest total of the season for the Chargers. Last week on Sunday night, total 47.5 against the Bengals. That game did go over. And that's been the interesting thing, DRS, with Los Angeles. Early in the season, Jim Harbaugh and Greg Roman told you exactly what they were going to do. Establish the run, take the onus off of Justin Herbert, who had to do everything for this LA franchise in his first 4 years in the National Football League. They were going to move that responsibility to the O-line that was now going to be developed and the running back. In the last few weeks, though, it's been Herbert slugging that football and the Chargers playing in much higher scoring affairs. So to your point, even if Baltimore does start to score, I actually think the Chargers team we have seen the last few weeks can keep pace.
Yes, they can keep pace. They can, because Johnson is actually, looks like he was going to be a bust year one. Hey, he's not playing good football. He looks like he's that deep threat, big play guy you can have. But you also need that balance of Ladd McConkey, who runs those intermediate routes, has looked quite good his rookie season. There's a lot of components that I really like. Because the one thing you know about the Harbaughs, we want to get a fullback out there, put our hand in the dirt, and get out there and get after it. So you know coming into this game, you're not looking at the Chargers saying, like, they can't compete this way. I think they want to be fast and physical with the Ravens. But the one thing we do know is you don't really attack the Ravens on the ground, which is what Jim Harbaugh would love to do and what he's done many times this year with a couple different running backs in the backfield. I think if you have to be aggressive early, which you need to do for the Chargers to sort of get this game script of, okay, let's get the lead by throwing and maybe we can run later in this game. But I just look on the opposite side. You have 2 legitimate, like one guy trying to win the Offensive Player of the Year, and that's going to be Derrick Henry. I think he has a pretty good night. But also, maybe the true MVP comes out and shows in Lamar Jackson tonight, because I look at his passing numbers and think he can throw the 2 touchdowns and go over his passing prop number tonight. I think we get more of a passing game tonight from both teams than a running attack, which both teams probably would rather have the running attacks get after it.
That is very interesting. The Flock have been booked as a favorite in every single game, all 10, since the season debut in Kansas City. They have, of course, won 7 of those. They are 5-5 against the number. Plenty more from Monday Night Football when our third and final hour begins after the break on the early line.